Hey, hello, welcome. It's Dubs OT with JD and Kyle Haar and Greg Silver. It is a YouTube Tuesday here to close out the 2024-25 season. We welcome you in, and what a game tonight in Memphis as the Warriors get the win. Big fourth quarter for the Dubs, and they move in front of Memphis as they win this one by the final of 134-125. They outscore the Grizzlies by 9 in the fourth quarter. Game was tied going to the fourth quarter. It was a spectacular Stephen Curry performance. Guys, let's just start there. We'll get into the ramifications of everything. Obviously, this puts the Warriors ahead of the Grizzlies in the Western Conference playoff race. Golden State moves into fifth with this win. And we'll see. Still going to have to win a lot more here between now and the end of the season. But the Grizzlies dropped to 44-32. The Warriors improved to 44-31. And so a much needed win. They've now won 3 in a row after dropping the first 2 of the 6-game trip. But I mean, let's just start with Steph Curry. I mean, it was an epic Steph performance, and he's been on another level since Jimmy Butler has joined the Warriors. But I mean, tonight, 12 of 20 from 3. He was 11 of 15. So he finished 1 for 5, but 52 points, 10 boards, 8 assists, 5 steals. So it wasn't only just nearly breaking the all-time 3-point record. He literally did it all for the Warriors tonight. Jimmy Butler was awesome. And then it was just enough stops. It was just enough key buckets, just enough hustle plays. But, how do you not start with Wardell, Steph, and Curry?
Yeah,
I'll let Kyle take this one, yeah.
I mean, after the first half, you're like, wait. Is he going to break Klay Thompson's record for most threes in a game? He was 8 for 10 from 3 after the first half and went a little cold in the fourth. But when you needed it most, Steph Curry came up clutch. And I want to give a shout out to two of our very own role players in Pods and Moody who came up clutch as well.
Yeah, and so much of this, Greg, before we kick it to you, the Warriors' level of play in these games. I thought the Grizzlies played great tonight. I think this was the best Grizzlies game that they've played against a good team in maybe months. And the Warriors were tested. They were really trying to get physical with Steph after the hot start, frustrating him at times, frustrating the Warriors at times. Enough answers throughout the course of the first half. And look, it did have the feel of Steph was dominant. Jimmy Butler was awesome. The quintessential 27-point Jimmy Butler game where he gets to the line 12 times and does a little bit of everything else. 6 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals for Jimmy Butler in this game. Draymond doing what he does defensively. Triple-double for Draymond in this game. Oh, by the way, he did get the triple-double. Warriors basically had the 3 guys just doing it all. And who would the others be? Would they get enough from the others? And yeah, Pajemski with the tip, Moody with the big 3 late. It felt playoff-ish in a lot of ways tonight, Greg. But the Warriors don't even sniff a win if Steph doesn't go for 52.
No, of course not. They're a very Steph Curry dependent team. They're a very Jimmy Butler dependent team. They're a very Draymond Green dependent team. And that's going to lead me to my larger point of this one. First point is that was a fantastic basketball game all around. And I mean, Warriors had that 17-point lead. If they ended up losing that game in the fourth, that was not going to go in the category of a blown lead for me, unless they built up their own fourth quarter lead and then blew it in a short amount of time at the end. But that to me was more just modern NBA basketball where both teams were hitting a lot of shots. The pace was fast. Memphis is physical. I know they're sort of in shambles right now, and they had the very shocking firing of Taylor Jenkins. This is a playoff team. Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., those guys are players, and they want to test the Warriors, and they always want to put up a good fight against Golden State. So just getting that out the way, that was a playoff-like environment and a really big one for the Warriors. Of course, they were led by Curry and his 52. Earlier today, though, when we had Marcus Thompson on the show and we had Sam Gordon and we were talking a lot of Warriors and what this game meant ahead, I said, as far as X factors go for tonight and for what's moving forward for the Golden State Warriors season, the two X factors are Podziemski and Moody, the two guys that Kyle just shouted out. And the reason I'm not saying Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green or Steph is because they're all so vitally important. One of those guys misses time. And yes, Jimmy Butler had that little ankle scare for a moment when Edey kind of turned his ankle. If any one of those three is off the floor for a series or a game, they are right back. Yeah, they're right back to the team that could lose to anyone on any given night. Absolutely clear the slate. But if everyone's out there, you see the kind of ceiling that they can have. And so the reason I want to shout out Moody and Pods is that this is an example of sort of big boy basketball, playoff-like basketball. Podziemski has never played in a series. Moody has played in the playoffs before. He was pretty solid in 2023, got some spot minutes here and there during the championship run of 2022. But 2022 is when you had guys, in addition to your stars in your core, who were closers. And last year I said to you, JD, the Warriors just didn't have enough closers in addition to Steph. It wasn't that they need a second star, and yes, that was part of it, but they did not have closers. Tonight, Podziemski with that tip and play, that was closer stuff, and Moody has not shot the ball well recently, but he hit that corner three to essentially seal the deal at the end. That was stuff of a closer. So I think if they don't win tonight, you can pretty much wipe away any notion of home court advantage. The play-in is looking a lot more likely. Now, all of a sudden, you're sitting at 5. You could maybe even push 4 if a lot of things go right here.
Yeah, and they'll get a chance at that with the next game against the Lakers on Thursday. So we'll see how that eventually shakes out. Great test for both Podziemski and Moody because they're going to be out there. I mean, it is going to be, I think, pass or fail. If they obviously play poorly enough, then Steve Kerr may go a different direction at one of those spots. But if you just look at it tonight, I mean, it really, he could have gone away from Podziemski specifically tonight. 0 for 4 from 3, didn't shoot it well, wasn't his best plus-minus game, really. I think he ended up getting to -2 basically because of the end of the game. He was in double-digit minus up until his last stretch. And you kind of wondered, would Steve roll with even, Buddy Hield and go with some shooting, or would you go with a Guy Santos who really, again, did a lot of little things tonight, but the shot wasn't there for Guy Santos in this game. So there were other options, but I think Steve tonight used this game, guys, as a test for those two players specifically. And it felt early. One of the notes I jotted down early is, the Warriors, it really was, I thought, a playoff level focus in the first quarter, especially. I mean, Steph came out and he ends up just absolutely incredible. Warriors go 45 in the first quarter. It felt like a playoff level of focus, though, from Steph, from Jimmy, from Draymond, from Steve Kerr. It also felt like a playoff-like rotation as well. And again, I think tonight is one of those nights where it was could you say that the defense wasn't maybe playoff caliber, or the Grizzlies got a few too many open shots early? I mean, the Grizzlies have been a good offensive team throughout the course of this year. Like, to me, tonight was basically the Grizzlies had a great offensive game. I thought the Warriors were playing well. Like, I don't think this was a Warriors let them have it or played poorly defensively. Like, I thought the Grizzlies played up in this game. I thought the Warriors matched and beat them in enough key moments when they had to. I also think we saw tonight, while we all would be comfortable, Kyle, in the Warriors playing the Grizzlies, it still, while you're watching it play out, like, you're confident enough the Warriors can win against the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies also do show, even on a game like tonight, where at times the size that they have bothers the Warriors. At times the physicality that they will bring, even if maybe there should have been a few more fouls called against them at different times, and they get away with some of that physicality, especially the games in Memphis, more than maybe they would get in the games in the Bay Area. I just thought, everybody's confident the Warriors can handle the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies are also, I think, in their own right, still somewhat of a difficult matchup just in terms of the style of play and the body type and the different players that they have. Warriors, though, were able to continue to push through and play their game and find a way to win. So I actually think this is a hell of an impressive win for the Warriors because of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I would say, yeah, the Grizzlies' size is definitely the key issue that I would point out against the Warriors. I thought Jaren Jackson Jr., when he was just living in the paint in that second quarter, I believe, it felt like they could just go to that all game. And if the Warriors were playing him one-on-one in the paint, it felt that Jaren Jackson was either going to get a foul or get deep enough to get a really good shot off. And so Jaren and the Warriors may, and this is the kind of issue that they have against your Jaren Jackson Juniors. And we like to talk about like Anthony Davis, like that kind of player who can, he could hit the occasional three ball, but in the paint poses so many problems offensively and defensively.
Yeah, he's a handful, but Draymond holds his own. And it just felt like the Warriors got up until the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, even as the Grizzlies were coming back. And the Grizzlies, I think, were the better team in the middle two quarters. And that was even with Steph going off for a 50-burger, 52-burger in this win. But the Warriors they got enough of a stop. They would get, Jackson would do his thing, but they'd get a stop here. There'd be a wide open miss there, a big rebound here, an offensive board here, a hustle play there. It just felt like the Warriors were really locked in on that front tonight.
Yeah, I think I would say they definitely out-hustled the Grizzlies. And yeah, when you go back to those key moments, when you needed a stop, when you needed an offensive rebound, Buddy Hield, when you had so many no, yes moments, those were great. But in all seriousness, I think the Warriors really played well, and the role players, even though they didn't shoot the ball well, they still made such a big impact on this game.
Well, and here's the other thing, Greg. It's also a testament, I think, the focus, the energy, the intensity, everything that the Warriors wanted this one. And so for all the debate about what the better seed is, and Kyle and I have talked about it a lot. I said it the other night. Really the Warriors, if it wound up that they ended up 7th and played Houston, obviously they'd have to win a play-in game to secure that. It probably wouldn't be the end of the world, but the Warriors are not going to think that way in terms of, the opportunity before them to secure an automatic bid, basically, to get into the playoffs, and a week off between April the 13th and when the playoffs start that following weekend. Tonight, though, Greg, you could tell early how much this game meant. They wanted this game. They wanted to move in front of the Grizzlies. They want to give themselves a little bit more margin for error to where maybe it isn't just 6th, maybe it's 5th. And then that means the Grizzlies can be 6, or the Clippers can be 6, who are playing great, or somebody else can be 6. But to give yourself that extra chance, I think, is big. And so tonight was one of those where, you take your chances against the Lakers, and if you can win Thursday, then maybe you got a shot at the 4. We'll see. But to at least give yourself an extra chance at being in the top 6 by not having it be 6 or bust, at least here for the next couple of games, I think that's important.
So between the last time I was on the show and now, and really anything since that Milwaukee game when they won at home without Steph, I took serious issue with the slow starts. It was driving me crazy as an observer, because this was not a group that, it's not like they didn't understand the urgency of this stage of the season and the situation they're in and the stakes of being in the play-in tournament and just messing around with extra games. And I was having this conversation with Sam Gordon of the San Francisco Chronicle, and I said, look, top priority here has to be health, making sure especially your big 3 are as good as they can be going into a playoffs, but a very close second should be getting that 6 seed, because you don't want to mess around with extra games. You don't want to have extra wear and tear and fatigue on Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond in particular if you are going to head into a playoff series. Like, sometimes you lose a playoff series partially before it even begins, with the great example being 2023. Losing that game 6 and having to exert all that in game 7 to go and win in Sacramento set them back to start the Lakers series. They end up losing in 6. And so I do think there's a carryover effect. On top of that, the nature of the play-in tournament, I'm for it just as an NBA fan and the way that it makes the end of the regular season more exciting. But if you're the Warriors and you're going to be sitting at 7 or 8 in what would have been playoffs in the old format, you don't want to mess around with extra games where it's single elimination or perhaps double elimination and anything can happen or a guy could get injured or knocked out. You want to try to get into a series. And if we want to talk about where the experience and where the coaching is going to shine for this team, that'll be if they can get into a series and have time to prepare and do everything they can in their power to try to go and be an underdog and upset a team that is a favorite and perhaps a little bit younger if it's a team like Memphis, like a Houston. Lakers and Denver, two different kind of more difficult matchups, but still teams you want to be as fresh as you can possibly be going into a series against.
Yeah, and again, we'll see what happens. I mean, the Warriors right now move into 5th at 44 and 31, so they're a half game up on the Grizzlies. Grizzlies 44-32. They're still a game up on Minnesota and a game up on the Clippers. So the Warriors are currently 5th, but they're a game from 8th. So you could essentially lose the next 2 to the Lakers and the Nuggets, and that's going to be a difficult back-to-back. The Lakers are going to be rested. I was double checking here, Greg, as you were talking, just to make sure for all the games the Lakers have had to play here at different points and makeup games due to the fires in Southern California and everything. The Lakers are going to have a couple of days of rest. They played last night. They do not play tonight. They do not play tomorrow night. They're going to have a couple of days of rest to the Warriors' 1 day of rest. And then Denver is playing tonight and tomorrow at home, but they'll get the off day Thursday and play with 1 day in between heading from Denver to the Bay Area. But right now,
I got a question for you, JD, actually, as
sure.
I'm looking at the standings.
Right now it'd be Warriors-Lakers. Right now it'd be Warriors-Lakers.
So I see that same record right now for Minnesota and LA. Minnesota has the tiebreaker. Warriors have a tiebreaker over Minnesota. They do not have it over LA. Do you know how it would shake out if it was a 3-way tie between those 3 teams?
Between Minnesota and which
LA,
which 3?
Clippers, Timberwolves, Warriors.
Clippers, Timberwolves, Warriors. Okay, Clippers, Timberwolves.
That's a tiebreaker head-to-head triangle, essentially.
Yeah, and that I believe is the tiebreaker scenario. Is it's the head-to-head between the group in that, and I'm looking it up right now. So it's the head-to. So the Warriors. So you would go Warriors are 0-3 against the Clippers, right? They're 3-1 against Minnesota, so they would be 3-4 against the other 2. And so when you're
this last game against the Clippers, April 13th, could actually have some meaning then.
It could have some meaning as it relates to that. And so that's something to keep an eye on. I don't know at the moment, and I'm trying to log into the Media Central just to double check that here. I had the wrong code there because that runs down all the specific tiebreakers, and I can get into the head-to-heads as well. And so, yeah. All right. So here's the tiebreakers and those things. All right. Tiebreakers when 3 or more teams are tied, just to make sure. If one, okay. I forgot about this one. There is actually one, and I don't know if this would apply. If any of the teams is a division winner, that would be the first tiebreaker. So the Warriors would not be a division. Wait, Lakers.
I mean, if the Lakers end up winning the division, they could be, but I'm just saying as of right now, that's off the table. Clippers aren't, and Minnesota is not.
Yeah. So it's the next tiebreaker. If one of them is not a division winner, it would be the better winning percentage in games against each other. So it's you basically extrapolate out all of those head-to-heads, and I'm looking at it right now because I do have the season series numbers here right now. So you put Minnesota with the Lakers and the Warriors is what we did here.
It was Clippers, Timberwolves, Warriors with a 3.
Oh, Clippers, Timberwolves,
Yeah.
Warriors. Okay, so you separated
EB
like
here is saying, why are we getting a brain aneurysm over a tiebreaker? Just watch the game and enjoy it. Okay, answer number 1, we're sickos. And answer number 2, since I know JD's a sicko, I knew I was going to be able to send him down that rabbit hole for my own curiosity.
Well, it's too early. Again, it's too early for me to have it at hand, honestly, just because it is so jumbled up and there's so many games still left. I mean, that's probably something for after they play the Lakers and after they play Denver. But yeah, if you want to look at it, the Clippers in Dallas are 1-1. Clippers in Dallas are 1-1. And am I reading this right? The Clippers in Dallas play each other twice. If I'm reading this correctly on the thing that the league has put out, they still play each other twice, which that would obviously, that's, damn it. I did it again. I said Dallas. You meant Minnesota.
It's okay. I give all of us permission to hop off this topic.
Yeah. Well, you don't do that. You don't do it and then let me flail through it. And then, I mean, that's a good way to not get invited back. Minnesota and the Clippers. So Minnesota has the tiebreaker. Minnesota has a 3-0 on the Clippers. So
gotcha.
Factor that in there. So Minnesota would be, it would actually be pretty even at this point. So Minnesota's got a 3-0 against the Clippers, but they've got a 1-3 against the Warriors. So that would put them, I guess, ahead they have a 4-3 record currently in against the 2. The Warriors right now have a 3-4 record against the 2, and the Clippers would also have a 3-4 record against the 2. So it looks like Minnesota would be Minnesota, and then basically whoever would win the Laker Clipper or the Warrior Clipper matchup at the end.
Got it. All right. Fantastic work.
So yeah, we'll learn all about that in more depth as we go through here. But yeah, we'll have to see how it shakes out. All right. Did we get a playoff Jimmy tonight? Did we get a playoff Jimmy? Was this playoff Jimmy?
I think it was pretty darn close. I keep going back to this stat. My favorite stat about Jimmy is he took 11 shots and scored 27 points. So he's scoring more than 2 points per shot, right? And I mean, this has been a constant with him is he can get his 20 something points while only taking 10 to 12 shots a game. But I thought defensively too, he came up with that big stop against Ja Morant late in the game. He had that steal where Triple J tried to back down Draymond, I believe, and just stole it right behind his back. So no, yeah, I thought his intensity on both sides of the ball were great, and I just hope that ankle injury is not too serious.
Yeah, and that's one of those where he was able to play through it. I think that was one of the best signs of the evening was the fact that he quickly was able to come right back and not miss any game action specifically because of that. And again, though, we'll see how it swells up and all of that tomorrow. I mean, anybody, and we all have rolled our ankle. I mean, you can figure out a way to get through it in the moment, and usually the next day it's worse. So we'll see. And you're right. I mean, if they were to not have Jimmy in the next 2 games, it's probably 2 losses. Like that's just reality. Like their ability to win the next 2 games is really, I think, contingent. Regulator with an answer, not really because Steph was on fire. His 27 was kind of quiet. Okay, his 27 was kind of quiet, but it was still 27. Like, I mean, Steph's 52 was pretty loud. I will say that. But I don't know.
But also in a game
if it's 18 tonight, they don't win. If it's 18 tonight, they don't win.
Right. Because, I was going to say if they didn't really have a third scorer, so they needed all of those 27 points. And how about the Warriors going perfect from the free throw line as well? Yeah,
that's been something that they've remarkably turned themselves into a good free throw shooting team just by adding Jimmy Butler, apparently.
It was the greatest April Fool's prank they could have pulled, going 28 for 28 from the free throw line.
And for all of the complaining that was going on, and there was a lot of complaining going on. I think at one point it was a 13-7 free throw advantage for the Grizzlies over the Warriors. It ends up 28 attempts for the Warriors and 22 for the Grizzlies. Not that it has to be even, because anybody that has half a brain and has watched the NBA for a long time, like, free throws do not have to be even. Field goal free throw attempts do not have to be even in a game. One team can foul more than the other. But if you were watching the game to the eye test tonight, you would have thought the Grizzlies fouled more than the Warriors, and you look up at the end of the night and the Warriors did attempt more free throws. So for all of the complaining, the Warriors wound up being a plus in terms of that for the game. And forget about what broadcasters say. And Enrique Rivera, amazing the no calls on Steph. Yeah, there were a couple, and Steph was pissed tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, more than you usually see him be. And again, it did feel, I thought tonight throughout the game, as if it was the Grizzlies truly they were just trying to see how far they could go and how much they could get away with. Honestly, it was like, once he really got on a heater, it like they knew they had no shot unless they tried to just be more and more and more physical. And if the officials called it, then they were going to lose that way. But if the officials didn't call it, it was their only shot. And if they didn't do it, they had no shot to slow down Steph even a little bit. And he was going to end up maybe going for 70 tonight, and the game wasn't even going to be close, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when we say the quiet 27, and part of that is because Steph Curry's 52 was so loud. Kind of makes me wonder, what's the most points that somebody has ever had that were labeled quiet? Because 27 is pushing it about as much as you can, and the 12 free throws certainly helped. But I mean, just the way that they were taking advantage of some of the fouls, and I feel like, honestly, that's a tough game to officiate when it's fast-paced like that. It's two teams that are physical. You said it, that the Grizzlies were trying to see how much they could get away with, and when Steph's having that kind of night and going off in the first half like that, why would you not test your limits as a defense? Like, I'm just saying that from a very objective basketball standpoint. You're doing everything you can to stop Steph Curry and get him to just calm down just a little bit. So, of course, you're going to test his limits on the physicality front. I actually thought the game was pretty officiated well for the most part. I agree. There were definitely some Steph plays where I'm like, all right, come on. Like, they're all over him. I thought Moody, even though he did sell it a little bit, I thought he got grabbed by Ja Morant and dragged down on one rebound opportunity. That was another one that stuck out to me. But for the most part, I don't really have a serious issue. I was very confused by Jimmy Butler not getting that and one at the end of the game. But I guess the rule was that since his hand was in the net, that's technically rim interference. And so the basket doesn't count. And then they ended up just getting the 2 free throws with no basket.
Yeah, they got that. I thought they got that one right. And initially I didn't necessarily think so. But if you watch the replay, there's no way in hell he would have made the layup without he balanced himself by grabbing on the net. So it was the classic. Yeah. You go up, you get fouled. The foul knocks you off balance to the point where you can't complete the play. But it was actually kind of an amazing play. Like, he balanced himself enough, grabbing the net with one hand to be able to lay the ball in with the other. And so, again, if it doesn't impact the play or the shot, they can rule that the basket counts. But it clearly impacted. Like, there was no chance that that's a bucket without him grabbing on the net. So I thought they got that one right once we watched it on the replay. Danny Dunn in the chat. Kerr, Jimmy saved our season. Yeah, without a doubt. Take. I mean, what are they now? 20? Is it? I've lost count tonight. I've been busy looking up tiebreakers, so I haven't looked at 20-2. Is it 19-2? Is it 20-2 now with Steph and Jimmy?
I think with those two, I think it's 19-2. 18. It's either 19. I know they're 19-5 overall with Jimmy Butler in the lineup.
Yeah, and that one doesn't even matter, like, to me as much. Now, like, the one that matters the most now is when Steph and Jimmy play.
So it would be 18 because they got to win in Milwaukee or against Milwaukee without Steph.
Okay, so 18-2 in 20 games where the two of them have played together. So that's, I mean, that to me that's the story, because now we've seen a couple of games against some lesser opponents where Steph didn't play on the road and the Warriors were pretty terrible in both of those games. We saw the game in Philly, bad team on the road where Jimmy doesn't play and the Warriors are terrible in that game, although they still almost won it. And it really, the outlier was the Milwaukee game of that group. And so to me, it's now a matter of now it's a matter of like the number that matters the most is Steph and Jimmy are both playing. What's the Warriors record? So 18-2 for the Dubs when they were 25-26. I mean, tells the story.
And still undefeated with the starting lineup they rolled out tonight.
12-0 with the
yeah.
Curry, Podziemski, Jimmy Butler, Moses Moody, Draymond Green starting lineup. We'll get your guys' thoughts. I mean, is that, and we'll also do some Kyle's clicks here too. Is that lineup, I mean, can that lineup win multiple playoff series? Can that starting lineup win multiple playoff series? Because I think tonight we saw, even in a win, why I think there should still be some concerns as to, does this team have enough? Again, not to win one series or against a specific matchup, but we're talking about 4 series that need to be won to win a title, 2 that need to be won just to get to a conference finals. Can that lineup win multiple playoff series?
Kyle, you want this one first?
Yeah, I'll take it. Definitely can win one. I'm thinking, like, I do think it is talented enough.
The ceiling doesn't have the answer, Kyle. I'm just kidding.
I do think it is talented enough to win more than one. I think the biggest concern is, like, even with that lineup and even with Steph Curry, there's still a lack of shooting. They're still going to dare Draymond to shoot his 7 or 8 threes. And how many is he going to make? 1 or 2?
That number's got to come down, by the way.
Yeah. I was like, I know he likes to take them early, and he made his first one, I believe, and then was 0 for from there on out.
Probably should have ended at 0 for. Probably should have ended at like 1 for 4, and not gotten to 1 for 7.
I was screaming at the TV because that action when Edey was guarding Draymond and Edey was sagging off so far, I was like, Draymond, just set a freaking screen for Steph, and he's going to get a wide open three. Like, you don't need to take the 3, right? Anyway, but
it's a good call.
But like Moody and Pods, I mean, scoring wise, it wasn't there tonight. I still think they have the talent and the hustle to make a great impact. But then you look at a Jimmy Butler, and he's going to give you 22 to 28 in a playoff game. So I do think the ceiling is capped to wherever we think, or how much of an impact Moody and Pods can make offensively, because they don't have a third scorer within that group.
I'm going to say that this lineup has the best chance of any lineup to win multiple playoff series. We'll see if this team can win multiple playoff series. I think this lineup has the best chance. And I am going to cheat a little bit and do a little phone a friend, aka my notes from when we had Marcus Thompson on a little bit earlier, because I did ask him as my first question today. I said, this starting lineup is 11-0. Now they're 12-0. I said, why has the small lineup worked? It's not incredible shooting wise. It is not the biggest, and it's not the most athletic. And he essentially said, well, it works offensively if Podziemski scores, and he was doing that in San Antonio. Tonight, I don't know what he finished with, but luckily you got 52 out of Steph, and so it ended up being okay. Podziemski only had 8, so yeah.
And no threes made.
So this was actually a case in which he probably would need to score more in a typical playoff game, but guess what? You got 27 and 52 from Jimmy and Steph, respectively, so it all worked out. And then on the defensive side, Marcus's point was, they don't really sacrifice a whole lot defensively. Like, all these guys can guard. Now, they're not all Draymond Green elite defenders, and Steph's obviously 37 years old now, but Steph's become a pretty capable defender, and at times he could be a good defender. Draymond is Draymond. I think Moses Moody is really impressed since the Jimmy Butler trade, taking on the role of a ball stopper. This has nothing to do with the lineup in particular, but I would say the biggest weakness of this defense, aside from just not having your traditional rim protection and, 7-footer, is really the point of attack ball stopper. Andrew Wiggins is off the team. Gary Payton II is hurt. I think Jonathan Kuminga has the talent and physical attributes capable of being that guy. He wasn't there tonight. So Moses Moody is someone that's really taken on that challenge nicely. And as we've said about Podziemski, he is a willing defender, not always the most effective defender, but he does play hard. He can draw a charge, and I don't think he's an obvious weak link to the point where this lineup all of a sudden doesn't work.
Kyle, what do you think? Well, I know you gave your thoughts. I guess I'm pandering to, like, I'm delaying my need to give an answer here. I think it's going to be tough. Go ahead, Kyle.
It is going to be tough. I think the Warriors, or not the Warriors, I think Moody and Pods really needed a game like this where it was a playoff-like game and the intensity and atmosphere was there, and you got chippiness and you got people complaining at the refs. But all in all, I think they were, like, obviously offensively didn't have their best game. Pods finished with 8 and Moody finished with 10. But I think they still made so many winning plays to really help the Warriors get the result. And I think it just helps for their experience going into these playoff series.
Yeah, it was a great test game. I think without question, it was a great test game to just see. But I just keep coming back to, a night where if the Warriors don't win this game, like, what are we talking about tonight? And I think, if Steph goes for 40, like, what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about Steph and Jimmy did their thing, and they didn't really have a third scorer, even though you look up and they did have some guys get into double digits. Moody ended up with 10. Draymond ended up with 13, even despite the 1 for 7. But it was a lot of 8s and 9s tonight. Quentin Post is just chucking. Like his 3 seems a little rushed lately. It seems like he's taken it a little. I don't really have a problem with him continuing to take a lot of them, but it seems like he's been a little sped up in the shots that he's taken, which I think is why the percentage has maybe fallen down. Ian J here in the chat. Pods and Moody have been great, but I don't think either is a number 3 for the team. I think that's well said. And I don't think it's fair to either to view them as a 3. I mean, the big 3, if you will, is going to be Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond. But Draymond, nobody expects him to be the number 3 scorer.
Right. Who's your offensive 3?
Right. So you need I do think this team needs off-season component. Like, cause I don't know who, like, somebody could it could be a different person in a few of these playoff games to where they can win a series or 2. But I do think they need someone that is more consistently going to be the third scorer. And that's where I really don't think that player is on the roster. Because I think that player has to be somebody that can do it in conjunction with everybody else. Like, it has to still work with everybody else doing what they do well. It's not an indictment of Pods or Moody, because what you want in turn is what Steph does, what Jimmy does, what Draymond does. You want what Pods and Moody do, while you're also accepting that they're not a number 3. So what you need is a complementary player to those 5 that I just mentioned that can be the third scorer. And I do not think that player is on this roster currently.
So I was going to say, here's what we're getting at. Because the most obvious in-house candidate did not play tonight. That is Jonathan Kuminga. That is probably your most obvious, right in front of you solution to be consistently a third scorer in conjunction with Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. Now, that's easy for me to say. That's easy for me to look at the numbers. Here's the reality. Kuminga missed over 2 months with an ankle sprain. He came back to a team that was very different from the one that he left because Jimmy Butler was on that roster. Moses Moody had flourished into a different role. Quentin Post was getting playing time all of a sudden. So Kuminga has the talent and he's got the attributes to be that guy. We don't know necessarily how that's going to fit because we've gotten a really small sample size, and we don't know how well it would fit over the course of a 7-game series.
We don't, and I just don't think it's even fair for Kuminga at this point. I don't think anybody's going to ask it of him between now and the end of this season. I really don't think it's fair to ask him to be that guy next year either, because I just don't to me that means that he's going to have to play a lot of minutes, I think, every night. And I think what we've seen is if he's going to be somebody that's going to be playing a lot of minutes every night, then that means you're not going to have somebody else out there that you need as part of these lineups that have worked so well together. Cowboy here, problem with JK in the starting lineup, that would make it a 3 forward lineup. The future is a 4 guard lineup. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, if Kuminga's in the starting lineup, it would be, even that, if Kuminga's in the starting lineup, like right now, if the Warriors are looking to put Kuminga in the starting lineup, like who do you take out? Moody, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, in theory, Moody.
So then you're going with less shooting to get more scoring. And I don't doubt, here we are, right? It's Moody's not really a 4 either, but Jimmy's kind of playing the 4. And between the two of them, you can get away with it. But, and you're not taking Kuminga, you're not putting Kuminga in for pods, because then you're basically playing, you're putting Moody at the 2 in that scenario, I guess, with Jimmy at the 3 and Kuminga at the 4 and Draymond at the 5. And I guess you could in theory do that. But again, you're sacrificing some playmaking there now. And some shooting. Podziemski is not a great 3-point shooter, although he's been closer to 40% the last 3 months, 4 months, 3.5 months. He got off to the horrible start, but the last, I guess now that we're in April, basically the last 4 months, he's like at 39% before tonight, 38, 39%. Now that fact, it's a little less than that because he was 0 for tonight, and the 7 for 9 impacted up in a positive way that number to push it up basically to 39. But he's been more in the 37, 38, 38 range than under 20 or whatever. He was in GP2 territory for the first month and a half of the season. So yeah, I don't know. Tonight, even tonight, Kyle, did the Warriors miss Kuminga tonight? I really didn't think they did. Again, here's the thing we're going to constantly do, Kyle, and where I'm going with this, and Greg, I'm sure you do as well. Every time Kuminga doesn't play and the Warriors lose, there's going to be a lot of, well, they could have used Kuminga. Sure, but I feel like the idea of what Kuminga can bring at this stage is greater than what he actually brings consistently, because he's not going to be a consistent third option. He's just not going to play enough to be a consistent third option for this team. Can he be a positive, impactful player between now and the end of the regular season plus the playoffs? Yes, I do think he can, but it's going to be in smaller doses than I think a lot of people want to see. I think that needs to be the focus, and we'll see if he's able to come back here Thursday against the Lakers. If he's got to miss the next 2 or 3 games though, he's teetering on not maybe even being in the playoff rotation or being a quick hook on nights where he's not playing well. And I think the little things that Guy Santos has done, including in the game tonight where he wasn't a scoring threat at all, but made some plays that impacted winning in a very small role, small minute requirement type of a role around the other players. I think, he may be somebody that Steve wouldn't be afraid to go to.
I think JK would have some issues in this game just because of how big Memphis is, and I think that just kind of plays against JK's hand. I mean, you have two good shot blockers in Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey, and they would and you saw Zach Edey. He was sagging off of Draymond the whole game. So I don't know how much space was in the paint for JK tonight.
Yeah, and Reg 707 or Reg 707, JK would be a -17 in a game. Like here's the thing. I'm actually not even going to skew that much to the negative, Greg. Because here's the honest answer. I don't know if Kuminga would have been a -17 in this game, or if Kuminga would have had 14 points on 7 of 10 shooting and gotten to the free throw line, or 5 of 8 shooting and got to the free throw line. But like, I really don't like, and I think that is in some ways part of the problem, is that you really, we're getting closer to the end of the season here. They're playing this stretch against these playoff caliber teams, and night in, night out, we really don't know what to expect. And I do think there's going to be time, assuming he can come back here, for the Warriors to try to figure it out in the final 4 or 5 games. I also don't think he's somebody that's just not going to be in the rotation at the beginning of a series. Like, I do think Steve will give him an opportunity, but he's going to have to be really good, really impactful, really quickly. Otherwise, it could potentially go the way that it did a couple of years ago in that Sacramento series, where, as I've said, and I know there are those out there that disagree, if Kerr had not stopped playing him, they would have lost that series. And, it was not a matter of – now, the Lakers series was different. Like, I think you could have given him some run in the Lakers series. We don't need to go back and relitigate that. But they lose the Sacramento series if Steve is thinking of it as, I got to get him his 25 to 30 minutes, hell or high water. Like, it just wasn't like, it just wasn't going to happen.
No, but I have to say that's a great call. That tonight could have been the type of game where he really struggled, and the Grizzlies could have gotten what they wanted defensively, and maybe he got in foul trouble. It also, because of the way the Grizzlies were playing and their best players in Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr., who did end up fouling out, were getting into foul trouble, Jonathan Kuminga could have capitalized off of that as well. Jaren Jackson Jr. got 2 fouls in the first 2:20 of that game. You don't think that him being off the floor or him playing with some foul trouble couldn't have been a prime opportunity? Maybe, Zach Edey is obviously a factor, being like 7'4", but if he's taken out of the action somewhere, or if he's off the floor, that is a prime opportunity for him to just drive right through the lane, rise up, and at the very least get to the free throw line.
And they foul a lot too. So that I think, yeah. I mean, this could have been a game where maybe he actually would have been the third scorer tonight. Maybe it would have been one of those 5 for 7 and he makes 8 of 10 at the free throw line and ends up 18 points. And it takes a little bit of the heat off of, again, I think that in and of it, that's why he is going to get an opportunity and should get an opportunity. But I also think, unfortunately, and if he misses a couple of more games, I do think, unfortunately for him, he may get cast into that role where he's not a regular in the rotation, but becomes one of those guys that Steve Kerr goes to as almost an emergency. Like, we've seen Steve do this before in series where, Moody got his opportunity in against Sacramento a couple of years ago. It's basically, if the series is starting to go awry and the initial plan is not working, you just throw somebody in there in an individual game that is talented, kind of pressure free, right? And he can help you. David Lee, the Warriors did that with David Lee in a couple of series where he wasn't playing a lick, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, they're down, and David Lee comes in and positive impact on why is he playing? Positive impact on a game where maybe
2015 finals.
Yeah. So I think I think I don't want to say that if Kuminga does wind up in that role, it means that he's not going to be a factor, because I think we've seen, Steve do it. We've seen the coaching tree that Steve Kerr comes from, the two trees. Popovich has done that over the years. Phil Jackson used to do it all the time, where there would be somebody that just hadn't played at all in a game or hadn't played at all in a series. All of a sudden it's like start of the fourth quarter and he's playing for the first time in like 2 games. And you're like, what the hell? There were times where Steve Kerr was that player. I can tell you, and you knock down 2 or 3 shots, and maybe you're a part of a team that gets on a run, and then MJ and Scottie Pippen come in and close it out. And so I think, again, we don't have to be hell bent on defining what a specific role for anybody is necessarily going to be among the young Warrior role players, because they are truly so inexperienced in terms of getting these opportunities at this stage of all of their careers, Kyle, which is something we talked about the other night.
Yeah. And I mean, I do feel bad for Kuminga, because this season in a contract, or when he's looking for a new contract, he's gotten injured twice. And then the Warriors trade for Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler carries this team to such a positive record. And honestly, when the Warriors traded away Andrew Wiggins, I thought Kuminga would be the kind of point of attack defender that the Warriors would look to. But I think Moses Moody has done such a good job being that role. I mean, he didn't have any steals tonight, but I counted like 3 or 4 deflections. So I do feel bad for Kuminga, but I do think like he could come in for, 15 minutes, 20 minutes and provide a good scoring spark. But I don't know how much more there is than that.
Yeah, he might just find himself in that he, you give him a chance, and if he's got it, then he plays a little more. And then if he doesn't, then he's just not going to play much or be in the rotation for the kind of the people aren't going to like to hear it, but he's kind of in a way, he's in his own little Buddy Hield kind of a scenario, where it's like, if he comes in and does the things he does well, then he might get a second shift. If he comes in and doesn't, then he probably won't get a second shift. And again, I think Quentin Post is in that category. I think Looney's in that category. I'm trying to think of some other guys there. I think Guy Santos is in that category. Yeah. I think really the only guys that aren't, Greg, are the guys we were talking about. It's Steph, it's Jimmy, it's Draymond. I think Pods and Moody at this point are not in that category. So, Greg, go ahead and answer that, and then I want to do we as promised. Our YouTube Tuesdays here before we get into the chat and all of that here. Play a little "What's in Your Cup."
Okay, so the question, because I want to try to get to the cup, keep this succinct, is just who do I think is in the category of kind of needs to make the most of their shifts versus maybe not.
Okay.
So, I'm saying that just to clarify, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, what's in your cup?
Gotcha. Starting 5 and tonight's closing 5, not in the category. Moses Moody, believe it or not, everybody, I think has earned it to where if he's not having a great night, he might not close the game, but it's not going to be this kind of tight leash where he's going to be out of the rotation like that. Brandon Podziemski, in his entire time with the Golden State Warriors, has not been that guy for Steve Kerr, and I think will continue to play really important minutes. I would say everybody else, it could be very dependent on the night. In fact, I'll throw one more. It's kind of 5.5. And the halfer, I don't know when we're going to see again, Gary Payton II. And the reason I think he might not necessarily be in the category of has to cash in on all his minutes is because he's always been a spot minute player. And we've seen him go beyond 20 minutes a good handful of times since the Butler trade, which is not something we necessarily were accustomed to. But GP2 is kind of there for very specific purposes. He is a point of attack defender, something I mentioned that I think they lack a little bit. You're not going to ever have him in for offense, but he's very sneaky around the rim. That's probably the other player I'd say where it's a little murky. Everybody else, I think it could be a really short leash situation.
GP2 is a good call. And I think GP2 was missed in this game specifically. I think he could have helped slow down the Grizzlies somewhat. I mean, they were in a flow. They were hitting shots. I think he could slow down Ja a little bit. I think he can slow down Bane a little bit from time to time. And I think a lot of what the Warriors are going to try to do is almost make it a zero-sum game in terms of maybe they don't have the elite scoring punch top to bottom that you need on their roster, but they can, in a playoff type setting, be able to really, really stop the opponent and be able to win that way. All right, we're continuing on here. It's Dubs OT with JD. We got Kyle Haar here, YouTube only. We'll keep it going till about 9. I think we'll call it at 9. And we still got, that's about 20, 25 minutes. Like to keep it at about 90, but commercial free, we can go a little under 90, I guess. I want to do an extended Kyle's clicks here because we've been in the YouTube chat a little bit at this, so that's coming up. But it is a YouTube Tuesday here on Dubs OT. It's the second of what will be 3 next Tuesday as well. The Warriors take on Phoenix. YouTube only shows here to close out. And so YouTube Tuesdays, didn't get a chance to do it. I mean, you guys did it last week. I was in Miami, so I didn't get a chance to have anything in the cup in Miami, but well, at least until after the show. But so what? Let's kind of go around. What's in the cup? What's in the cup? Mine's actually almost empty right now. But we had I raspberry White Claw. Raspberry
JD,
White Claw.
That was not on my bingo card.
I needed something quick. Didn't have time to make a cocktail. And so it was what was in the Kyle, you're up.
Estimated eyes pointed out my big tall glass, and it was actually a Christmas gift from my mom who likes to travel. So I think
nice.
She got this like gift box from Austria of Belgian beer. Like some 8% Belgian beer that included this nice cup, and I am almost done. I might have to grab another.
Yeah, we may have to take turns here. We may have to we may have to rotate where like 2 of the 3 of us stay, and then we allow somebody to go out and refill their cup with something different. Greg, dry April. What do we get? Coffee?
Yeah, I guess to this point we're going dry April, but it will not be the case. So I try, and keyword here is try, to not have any alcohol on the weeknights. I try to be sharp for my Papa and Silvers 10 to 2.
Yeah, but you don't need to worry about that tomorrow.
No, I don't. We'll break that news in a second. That said, I'm like, baseball season's here. The Giants are going to have their first home game on Friday, and the fact that the Giants are going to be playing for the next 6 months, this whole not drinking alcohol during the week thing, like, let's just be honest, it's not going to last.
And they won too, by the way. They're 4-1 now. Yeah. Another nice win.
Elliot Ramos.
They're playing clean ball. They haven't committed an error yet in 5 games.
It's unbelievable. I mean, the fact that they've stolen 5 bases last year, it took until their 13th game. I'm like, geez, guys. Anyway, it's enjoyable to watch so far. Nice 4-1. Ian, hey, what's he getting on me about? Anyway, I went with a little athletic. Sue me, okay?
Wait, what? Wait, athletic? What is that?
Yeah.
That's a beer?
It's a non-alcoholic beer. It's the popular one you see at the grocery stores.
Oh, okay, the athletic. That's right. Not like okay, I've seen that.
Not like Matt Barrows.
Okay. Yeah, no. Right. That makes sense. Okay. So, that's a little disappointing.
It is disappointing.
I'll own it. You want me to leave and come back with something more fun? I might just do it.
I actually think you know what, Greg, you're gonna be allowed to go first in our little round robin. Kyle and I will take it. You're gonna go first and fill your cup up with something else. And anybody, if you're home, kind of just enjoying the show, just enjoying the evening. Feel free to jump in the chat and let us know what you're sipping on tonight.
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah.
We can get a
or
couple
eating
of those,
or munching.
Whatever. It's just kind of one of those nights.
Don't let JD around those Trader Joe's Takis.
Oh
That's
yeah, those are bad. Those are all bad. No, none of those currently.
Oh man,
right
I literally just went to Trader Joe's. I walked right past them, and I had to pull my arm back.
Yeah, only because only.
I might dump it after half.
Yeah, come on, Greg. Greg like went in the kitchen. Greg's Erwin Kwong. JD makes a good point. Steph on the floor tends to speed the Warriors offense to a frenetic pace in a bad way. Butler slowing it down is definitely needed. They just complement each other really well. I think oh, there we go. What do we got? What do we got there, Greg? Yeah, a little Trumer. Is that a Trumer?
Absolutely. Got to represent Berkeley strong.
All right. See, now we're talking. Now we're talking, Greg. Welcome to Dubs OT, Greg. Appreciate that. Now, Kyle, I'm gonna allow you're gonna be if you need to, Kyle. You need to take a. You got a little ways to go. Yeah. Finish that off. Let's do a couple more chats. Let's do a couple more chats, and then we'll dismiss Kyle for a couple of minutes, and then estimated ice. Get drunk, Greg. It's just Papa. You won't have to talk at all. Well, tomorrow we're doing the show together. Tomorrow I'm sitting in for Papa. So leading up. So yeah, Greg. That's why Greg. Feel free, drink up. You ain't got to worry about it tomorrow. We're just squawking around. Rebel the Sounds. It's a short show too. Yeah, it is not Giants are at 110. And so that means what? We're done at like 12:10, but then we're really done at like what, 12:33 or something? 12:30, something like that. 12:34, 12:33. With Giants pregame. And I always check this, Greg, and I'm sure you're going to learn this for these. You always like Houston, they got a roof. So when it's 12:10, it's really 12:10. It's not like, actually it's raining. You gotta do the full show now. Like so that's one for one as far as that goes. Rebel to Sounds. The question going into the playoff is who will the Warriors' third 20-point scorer in a? Yeah, they're not going to have one. I don't think for have a third player average 20 in a playoff series. I tell you, if they have anybody average 20 in a playoff series, if they have three average 20 in a playoff series, let's just say Steph, Jimmy, and a third player, they're winning that series. Like without a doubt. I mean, I don't know. I don't see them having a 20-point average scorer in, let's say, a 6 or a 7 game type playoff series. I don't know. What do you guys think of that, Greg? I'll let you chew on that. I would say the question is, can they get a consistent 16 to 18 from somebody, 16, 17 from somebody?
Yeah. If they have a third 20-point scorer, that would be mighty fine. I would not expect that by any means. If we're talking Steph, would love to get Jimmy at that 20 mark. And then whether it's Moses Moody or Jonathan Kuminga or Brandon Pajemski, if he's able to hit some shots,
any one of them would work.
15 plus, then that's good.
Yeah, any one of them would work in that vein. I'm trying
how about new 3-point sniper Kevon Looney?
Yeah, how about Looney? How about Looney?
Clutch.
That was a big three. Big three at a key moment. And that was one of the many. I'm looking at, Curry's 10th three here of the night. He had 8 in the first half. And his 10th three put the Warriors up 80-77. And it was basically Steph versus Ja there for a stretch. His 11th three tied the game at 91. But the Kevon Looney three broke a tie as well. I believe 99 put the Warriors up 99-96. So no, that's a big three. And look, Kevon Looney's another, player that, not a great night, but against all that size, he impacted the game, I think, in a positive way at different points. And he's somebody that, in that small sample, you can get a little bit from, and he can help you. Big rebound here, defensive stop there. And he's somebody I think the Grizzlies just kind of shudder when he's on the court in the big moments, because he was so good against them in 22. Rusty Nail, love the early energy. Winning clutch games against good opponents is just great. The Grizzlies hanging on Steph the entire game. He still scored 52. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, this was, and I think maybe we've understated it tonight. I mean, this was truly one of the great Steph Curry games of his career. Again, there's been so many that I don't know if it's top 10 or 5 or whatever in the regular season. I mean, we can maybe debate it, but I mean, just look at the games that he's had since Jimmy Butler has joined. I mean, even the games where it's not the 50, like Orlando or like this game, it's games like Chicago, where he has a monster third quarter, or a game like Brooklyn where he helps him get back in the game. There's just been so many games where he's just been spectacular.
I also just think he's getting better shots too.
Yes.
When you have Jimmy Butler, the 3-point line just opens up a little bit more from Steph, and he doesn't really need that much space. But yeah, no, I think he's getting better looks, and I really do think that the key is, and JD, you've definitely touched on this, is he plays the first 8 minutes of the quarter and then sits from that 2-minute mark to the next 8-minute mark. And so he's in for longer stretches and can get hot, which seems like he gets hot easier.
One sub a half. It's one sub a half, which I think is huge. I'm looking at it here, Greg. 34 against the Bulls. This is just since Jimmy Butler's been on the team. 34 against the Bulls, 38 against Milwaukee. Those were the first 2 games with Jimmy. 25, 27. He's got a 30 against Dallas, 56 at Orlando, 29 at Philly. That was, Jimmy didn't play that game. The game at the Garden, 28, 40 against Brooklyn, 32 against Detroit. 28 New York. And then the 52 in the game tonight. He's got a couple other 20s I didn't mention in there. But he's just the explosive Steph Curry games, Greg, are back.
Well, I'll have the numbers in front of me by the time we do the show at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I don't have them in front of me right this moment. It's also way more efficient. The shooting splits are ridiculous. So Steph was having some good scoring performances before and right up to the Jimmy Butler trade, but it'd be a really inefficient 30 or 26, and he wasn't getting really any support from anywhere else offensively. So Jimmy Butler came in, and the beauty of it all is that, yes, he opened it up for Podziemski. He opened it up for Moses Moody. He's been able to get to the line and score himself. The player that he has helped the most is Steph Curry. Yeah. Very, 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 very much so.
True. No, that absolutely. Bees knees 50, 10, and 8 for an old man is wild. And yeah, we touched on it at the beginning of the show here, but the numbers, the 50, 10, and 8, but then also, as you look at Steph's night, he was doing everything. He had 5 steals on top of it. He had a block tonight on top of it. Like to me, that was a LeBron-like Steph game, right? It was a Steph game in terms of the 3-point shooting, and really throughout the game, you thought, damn, tonight's going to be the night he breaks the all-time record. But he was also doing everything else that typically is left for players of a greater stature in terms of their size, right? Like usually it's the big wing type player that has the game that type of game where it's a lot of everything. So impressive. In some ways, you could say this was the best game he's had this season. again, top five.
I also thought
Yeah.
defensively he was pretty good as well. I think he had 5 steals and at least 1 block, maybe 2.
Yeah, the one block to be sure. All right, so we got about 10 minutes here, 10, 11 minutes. More in the chat. Do you want to allow me to be excused for a quick second, or?
Oh yeah.
Shall I push it? All right, we're all right. I'll be right back. We'll make it quick. I mean, not enough time to go full like Tito's soda. But
you're making a cocktail.
So we'll see. Okay.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Floor is yours, guys.
Update us.
Yeah. Well, while JD goes and tops himself off, I'll give you the stat of the day. Shout out to StatMuse. I don't know why you got to pay to get all the full data now, but at least following their social media is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Steph Curry, everybody, first player in NBA history with 45 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals, 10 threes in a game. And if you just took his stats through 3 quarters, he hit that mark.
Jesus. I mean, Greg, I am curious, what were you? I was pretty confident, honestly, at halftime that Steph was going to get to that 14 3-point mark because he was 8 for 10. I thought volume-wise, he was at least going to get 10 more. So then you're looking at 6 for 10. I don't know. Were you confident?
It was a yes and no situation. If I had to put money on it at halftime, I probably would have unfortunately said no. Just because we've seen a lot of guys heat up in a half, especially in a first half. And then the fourth quarter will set in. There's fatigue. Defenses adjust at halftime. And Steph Curry obviously transcends that better than most players we've ever seen and most great shooters. He's a terrific player, the way he moves without the ball, and he shoots it like nobody else ever has. So that's not to say that he couldn't do it. I think about Klay Thompson, the 14 and 3 quarters, but that was with an offense where he was one of focal points and moving around. Jimmy Butler's a focal point, but he's not like that on the perimeter. So those 2 threes he made, though, late first half where there was kind of the sequence between Draymond and Jimmy, and it kicked out to the left corner, and the ball kind of dropped for a second, and Steph barely even regathered it on his release, and then he drilled that one. And then he hit another one, his last one before the half on the right wing, that was from 29, 30 feet out, that looked like it just had no chance and no business going in. So I wasn't stunned that he cooled off a little bit and came down to earth in the fourth quarter. But no, I certainly thought it was a possibility he could have pushed Klay. But so he finished with what? It was 8 at the half and then finished with 12?
Yeah. He won 12 for 20. So
8 of 10, 4 of 10, right?
Jeez.
Yeah. But yeah, still shot 60%, which is ridiculous. JD, what do you got?
I did make a cocktail. I did. I was gonna go beer, and then I said, no, we're going with a little Tito's soda, but it's Tito's soda, and so what I'll do a little Tito's. We'll do a splash of lemon juice. Just a splash of lemon juice to cut the vodka, and then flavored. It'll be like a bubbly or a LaCroix, like a flavored. Ooh. So yeah. Keep it on the. Just had some raspberry in there, so just a little raspberry in the top. But yeah, so Tito's soda, a Tito's soda special.
I think when I panic at a bar or club, I just go to a vodka soda. I think not saying it's my go-to, but when I'm I don't know.
Kyle,
dump.
Hit the dump button. There's no dump button here. There's no dump button on this show, man. No, man.
Damn it, I did not think I would be the first.
First set. Well, we'll see. We'll see how quickly I can finish this in the next 7 minutes. All right, let's do a little. I haven't checked the quotes tonight. Has anybody been checking some of the big quotes other than Jimmy saved their season? Right, we saw that one.
I found one.
Okay, Greg. Yeah, what do we got?
This one from Quentin Post halftime interview.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
I don't know why I'm here. Steph got 40 points.
Yeah. At halftime. No, it was pretty good. Yeah, that was very good. And the other one, Jimmy saved the Warriors season, which we touched on that. as well here. Let's keep it going in the chat. A lot of people wanting to talk. Anybody with maybe some drink suggestions or what people are sipping on? Robert, Curry will be drug tested by the weekend with games like this at his senior age. Yeah, he just unbelievable tonight. Like he's still got that level to him. He's still, I mean, that has been the number, like, and nobody on this show thought he was washed or anything like that. But since Jimmy has been here, he's every bit of what he had 3-4 years ago, maybe even 6 years ago at this point, even at 37. I know that's a big leap to say, hey, somebody at 31, 32, 31, 33, because he missed most of that 32 year, but like, is he still on that level? I think he can still hit that level a lot more consistently than we had seen him be able to do it as this season had started to kind of drone on. Read the Steed, vodka soda, and some citrus is all you need. Yep, absolutely. Cheers to everyone. And we'll be back at Harmonic and Thrive City, Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City on Friday. We're taking the show, Warriors and Nuggets. It'll be JD from crypto.com arena on Thursday night. So probably won't be able to smuggle anything up to the top of the crypt in the hockey press box, which is where historically we'll do Dubs OT from on those nights. But I'm back at Harmonic for Friday and Sunday, which is going to be fun with the Nuggets and the Rockets after they play the Lakers on Thursday. You know what I don't want to see, Greg? I don't want to see any rest for anybody. I don't want anybody getting rested in any of these next two games.
No, I said health is the top priority. If Steph Curry or Jimmy Butler, I mean, we'll see if his ankle swells up at all. I know that he went down with a little turned ankle. If everybody's healthy, you're playing, no rest. If you're injured or you're nursing an injury, that's different. Let Dr. Rick Celebrini handle all the details of that. I don't see any rest.
And and again, if you get the top 6, you get a week. You're going to get at least 5 days off if you get the top 6 spot. You play on that Sunday the 13th. If you're in as of that day, the soonest you will play, earliest you will play is Saturday, the following Saturday on the 19th. So that's going to be something that it makes it worth it to push. But again, the Warriors are really going to have to push because it's Thursday, it's Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, and then Friday, Sunday to close it out. And the Sunday game is an afternoon game as well. So EB here, first quarter big leads are way better than first quarter 15-point holes. Hey, 2 games in a row for the Warriors to jump out and get in front. It helps when you hit shots. That's the one thing I will say. I mean, Steph was on one tonight. And consistently, everybody was kind of feeling it the other night. Pajemski and Moody specifically in the game in San Antonio. But yeah, the bad starts were really burying this team, and they can't win a Steph game when they get down like that. Like it's just they're just are a non-Steph game. It's just not like they can maybe beat a bad team coming back like that if Steph and Jimmy are both playing, but you can't win a non-Steph game, and I don't think you can win a non-Jimmy game either without getting off to at least a normal. You can get off to a normal bad start. You can be down 8, you can be down 10. Yeah, it can't be much more than that. It can't be 15, 18, 20 plus if you want to have the ability to come back.
Yeah,
17 in Miami.
Yeah, that's not going to work. 17 in Miami's not going to work without Steph. That ain't going to happen. Enrique Rivera can someone tell Ja's old man to sit down and be quiet? Somebody in the Warriors bench probably did that tonight. Yeah, T. Morant.
Him and Draymond were kind of barking at each other. I think at that like 4 or 5 minute mark when Draymond came out.
Yeah.
I forget who was at the free throw line, but I noticed that.
Yeah. What's going to end up happening with the Grizzlies? I know I threw it out there on Twitter last night. I was watching them play Boston. Like I feel like they're going to end up. I think they're going to end up playing for the 8th seed. I mean, although tonight I thought that the Grizzlies. I think they're going to end up.
But like, who do you think would be the 6th seed then between the Clippers or the Timberwolves?
I think it's right now. I would probably lean the Clippers are more consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it feels like Warriors 5 again, and this is subject to change. It changes seemingly every day, but right now I would say Warriors 5, Clippers 6, or Clippers 5, Warriors 6. Again, and then Minnesota. I mean, could you imagine Minnesota and Memphis playing? And you know, even if Memphis is the 7 and Minnesota is the 8 at that point, I mean, one of those teams is going to lose. And be playing the Kings or Dallas or, I mean, Phoenix, although, I mean, Phoenix is in big trouble now without Durant here for a week. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll see how that all shakes out. But I mean, it's crazy to think that, I mean, they were at one point like pretty firmly entrenched as like the 2. And,
I mean, the timing of firing Taylor Jenkins made absolutely zero sense.
It was a very Sacramento-ish thing to do. I mean, it was a very like, we're a shit franchise thing to do, which they really have not totally operated under that lens for a while. So I think there's clearly some other weird shit going on. And so I think that, to me, they are set up to, I think they're set up to free fall. Like continue to get to a point where obviously they can't be worse than 8 in terms of the regular season, but they could be in a spot where they're one home game away from, you know, one home loss away to somebody really inferior. I mean, I still think they're going to win 46, 47 games, but they could be playing, you know, one of those 38 win teams and in a one-off, maybe miss the playoffs completely. I mean, what do you do when you fire your coach when you're the 4 or 5 seed, and then you end up not making the playoffs after you fire? Like yikes! I mean, what do you do then? I think Ja Morant's gonna be playing somewhere else next year. That's a hot take.
Is he a free agent?
He is not a free agent.
Trade.
He is not a free agent. In fact, I think he might even have 3 years left on his deal.
Oh wow.
Currently, but I don't think he's going to be playing in Memphis. Gene McIntyre, is this a signature win?
It's a signature Steph performance. I don't know if it's necessarily a signature win. It's a really great win to get at this point in the season. The reason I'm holding off is just because these next 3 are difficult. And we could be having a very different conversation by the end of the weekend, depending on how it shakes out between Denver, LA, and Houston. Now, that said, if there's anything signature about this besides what Steph gave you, it was a little bit of a test and some proof that Moody and Podziemski could go out and help close the game.
Yeah. I think that's the main, that's the 2 big takeaways were enough key plays from them, and you won a game where it was kind of mixed results from them. Now, the reason you were able to do it is because Steph was so awesome. But I think the other part of it for me is just the fact that you could tell early, based on the game that Steph played, based on the game that Jimmy played, based on the game that Draymond played, you could tell how badly they wanted it. So I think for this team to circle a game and be able to win it, I think to say, hey, this is a game we want, we're going to get, it's important, and be able to get it regardless of, whatever's necessary basically to win it. I think that makes it pretty close to a signature win. I think the only thing that prevents it from being a signature win is just what we were just talking about with the Grizzlies. Like if this had been the Grizzlies had 2 or 3 more wins and they hadn't fired Taylor Jenkins and they were still like 3rd in the West, like we would be, oh yeah, signature win. Now it also it wouldn't have put the Warriors in 5th either if the Grizzlies were playing at that level. So we might be viewing it in a different lens. All right, San Jose Jazz fan 4. I'm getting a Princess Leia vibe from Greg Silver. Why? What? Because of the headphone? The headphones? What is it?
I'm thinking white headphones.
Okay, it's that. Okay, all right. That was kind of the thought there. Do you want to do a couple more chats? Let's do some. We can also do some fun with numbers. I know we are suddenly beyond the 9 o'clock point, so we should wrap it up here in the next 3-4 minutes. What do we want to do here? EB here, Moses Moody.
We'll do like.
Let's do a couple chats.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 more chats.
Couple chats. EB here. Moses Moody took this game personal. He was all over the place. He got the jaw assignment. I thought that was impressive. And held his own. That type of guard historically is he does all right against the Brunsons, not necessarily as well against the Jaws or the Foxes. Those type, the quicker attacking guys, but I thought, he's just a good role player, man. He is just a steady, does everything. I feel like him and Pajemski, shot making aside, the one thing that they both have is you feel like they're doing enough other stuff. There are nights where the shot making kills you, or the lack of might kill you. It might be the reason you lose instead of win, but I just feel like both of those guys do enough to where they still warrant being on the court to close the game. And I don't know that the Warriors have anybody else. Maybe Kuminga on a night where he's going, but I just don't think the Warriors have anybody else that's just in that conversation to take one of their spots regularly in terms of closing. Maybe there's somebody on another roster the Warriors can acquire that can be put in that mold.
I don't know how far we should dive into this, but I'm assuming you guys noticed Ja Morant's gesture at the end of the game when him and Buddy Hield got double techs.
I did not. I missed it.
So Ja Morant, and I think we all understand his history, but he made like a finger gun gesture towards like the Warrior bench. And I don't know if Buddy Hield did it first, but like the camera pointed at Ja Morant, and Ja Morant was like looking at the Warrior bench and doing this finger gun gesture, and then Buddy Hield was doing it back.
Oh, okay.
And then that resulted in double technicals. Yeah, we don't need to go too far into it, but it was something late in the game that I don't know, might draw some national media.
I missed that. The one thing I'll say, Greg, about Buddy is always running his mouth, at everybody, always in the locker room, after the game, to his teammates, to the opponent. He is always kind of half shit talking, kind of half joking around, kind of he's just we all know that guy. We all have that friend. That's kind of.
I do appreciate the Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield back and forth. That my favorite was when Buddy spelled connector. He was like connect 4. He was like no connector.
The one other thing, and look, Buddy's a frustrating player, less frustrating, since Jimmy's been here, Greg. But the one thing I will say, his teammates like him. I know there are nights where it's he shouldn't be playing, and God, he killed him here, or when he isn't making shots, it's really bad, whatever it is. But his teammates really like him. He's just one of those personalities where they know he's not a great player all the time, but there's just something about his personality. He's one of those guys that can get away with some stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think he could get away with.
No, I'll give that to Buddy Hield for sure. I mean, he's got this kind of joyous, youthful energy, and he likes to have fun with it too, because he certainly is a smack talker. And the Jimmy Butler Buddy Hield dynamic is so hilarious when you consider how different those two personalities really are. But Buddy made a couple of nice plays tonight, man. I got to give him some credit. Buddy Hield, if he's playing the Portland Trailblazers or the San Antonio Spurs without Wemby, that guy's hitting his 6 threes and it's all good. Buddy Hield's making big shots in Memphis in a game that can vault you into a 5th seed. That hits different.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. Matt A was on what Kyle brought up. What's up with Ja finger shooting the Warriors bench with the finger guns? I missed that. That's not good. That's obviously not good considering considering the history. Read the Steed, Giants got to win as well. Can't believe this is my life. I mean, hey, good start for the Giants, man. No doubt. All right, let's a couple more. Are you fun with numbers? You let me know, Kyle. One more.
I've like one more. And
okay,
and
one more.
Guys, have you guys seen that clip of Shannon Sharp go, OKC, KFC, UFC, Lakers in 5? You know what I'm talking about?
I have, yes.
Okay, good.
Ja Morant, Ja Rule, Warriors in 5. I like that. In the Shannon Sharp. That's our comment. That's our Dubs OT comment of the night. All right, we'll run through some fun with numbers in this one as the Warriors' 21st road win for the Warriors. So that's a winning road season for the Warriors at 21-17, 3 road games to go. Lakers, Suns, and Blazers all on the West Coast. The 3 remaining road games, 3-2 on this trip. And they've won 12 of the last 15 overall and 9 of the last 12 on the road. As the Warriors have had a winning road record 9 of the last 12 seasons. Only the Clippers are teams that have done that over the last 12 years, according to Elias. So Warriors and Clippers, great on the road. Warriors win the season series against the Grizzlies, so they have the tiebreaker over the Grizzlies. Although I think the Grizzlies are going to end up, I don't know. I think they're going to end up 8th. If they play like they did tonight for the last 7 games or so, then maybe they've got a shot to avoid that. But because tonight they did play well, but I don't know. I think they're in a little bit of trouble. Warriors win the season series, so they have the tiebreaker over the Grizz. They have the tiebreaker over Minnesota as well. Here as we head down the stretch, the starting lineup of Steph, Pajemski, Jimmy, Draymond, Moses Moody, 12-0. This season, longest winning streak for any starting lineup used by a team. They passed OKC, had an 11-game winning streak with Greg. Did you get this note the other night? The OKC lineup of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Kaysen Wallace, and Isaiah Hartenstein was the only other starting lineup with that streak. 28 for 28 free throws tonight for the Warriors. The second most free throws made without a miss in franchise history. You got to go all the way back to 1991 when the Warriors made more than 28 without a miss. They hit 33 against the Rockets. Warriors had their best quarter of the year in the first quarter tonight in terms of scoring, 45 points. They'd scored 44, including Sunday at San Antonio. And the clutch records, Warriors are 24-18 now in clutch games, 42 clutch games. That is the 3rd most in the NBA this season. And they are 9-1 when they score 100, at least 130 points. They ended up with 134 in this game over the Grizzlies. Steph, the 52, so many Steph numbers here. We can probably end it on that note. 10 boards, 8 assists, 5 steals, 1 block. This was Steph's first career 50-point, 10 rebound double-double, and he was the 7th Warriors player ever to have one of those. Kevin Durant was the last player that did it in Toronto in his final year against the Raptors. Curry with the 12 3-pointers, matching his season high. And from the Orlando game, he also moved into sole possession at 25th place on the all-time scoring list. He passed Jerry West tonight. As if that wasn't enough, he passed Jerry West on the all-time scoring list in this game. So, yeah, a big-time Steph night. Contributions from Draymond and Jimmy and Quentin Post. Kevon Looney, second 3-pointer of the year. Moses Moody, his 21st straight start. And the Warriors are 23-4 when Moody starts. We talked about the 12-0, but 23-4 with Moody in the starting lineup. So I don't think Moody's going anywhere. Final thoughts, Greg. We'll say we'll wrap it up here. I'll give you an opportunity at some final thoughts and to promote what's coming up tomorrow, as I'm going to be sitting in for Greg Papa.
Yeah, my final thoughts are I'm going to take a nice hot shower. I'm going to put together our show rundown. I'm going to knock out, and I'll share all of my rest of my thoughts from 10 a.m. to about, 12:38 and a half tomorrow.
Yeah, good stuff there. Looking forward to that. Kyle, quick to you.
Final thoughts is I should have cut it off at a Belgian beer and a half.
Okay. All right. Fine. All right. Very good. And I may have one more. That'll be my final thought for this. I may or may not have one more. I'm watching I've still got I'm still watching the Cubs and the Cubs, and don't call me the Sacramento A's.
Is it 18-3?
It's 7-4. Cubs in the bottom or in the top of the whatever they are, 8th maybe. I don't know. They don't have it on the screen, but it's top of the 8th, I think, top of the 9th in Sacramento. 7-4 Cubs with the lead, and the Giants got to win. And I'll be back with Greg in for Papa tomorrow. Great stuff, guys. Really appreciate it. That'll do it. We'll talk to you Thursday from Los Angeles, and then Friday back at Harmonic. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Dubs OT on KNBR, the sports leader.